Hey everybody, so back to our cooking series. I'm gonna do an adapted recipe. Sorry, that's the Instant Pot coming on. This is from Jill Nasso's um, Vegan Under Pressure cookbook. It's the spicy one pot rice noodle bowl. It's basically a one pot dish, real easy. If you're not big into cooking, very flavorful, one of our favorites. Mine's going to be a little different, just because we've done it so many times. We do like to change it up a little bit. So I'm just going to let the Instant Pot on saute, and we're going to dry fry some onion, garlic, ginger, peppers, and mushrooms. And we're going to dry fry those for about 3 minutes. So, and the proportions are a little off on this one as well. It should be half a cup of onion. This is about 1 cup. Kim and I are both quite picky. Onions, peppers, mushrooms, ginger, and again, her original recipe is really good, but we do tend to like strong flavors, so I'm using quite a bit more ginger and garlic than the recipe calls for. The only sodium in this recipe is going to come from the sauce, which does have a couple of tablespoons of tamari in. It is the low sodium tamari. So that gets some heat into it. So first we're going to dry fry this, or dry saute it. Then we're going to add some veggie broth. I'm using my homemade stuff because I did have time to make some. And then we're going to add the peanut butter chili tamari sauce right at the end. But you're going to cook it under pressure beforehand. You don't want to go too crazy stirring, otherwise you never really get any heat going into the actual ingredients. But this is really just to soften it. The pressure cooking part of it will be the one that actually that really cooks it. So we're going to add about a cup of broth. Like I say, this is my homemade stuff. Onion, sage, a little bit of thyme, some garlic, and then basically any kind of leftover veggie tops or bottoms that I have. We're going to add some butternut squash, using frozen here. You can use sweet potatoes. You can use summer squash, which the recipe calls for. I had butternut squash, and that's what I'm using. So just want to try and get that down in there. We sometimes do have problems with the noodles, and now this is not in the recipe. This is just half a can of coconut milk that I happen to have left over from a couple of days ago, so I needed to use it. What we do sometimes have trouble with is getting the noodles completely covered with liquid, so they soften and separate. So we do tend to use a little more liquid in our recipe than Jill calls for. And I like to use the Chinese lo mein noodles. They're a wheat-based noodle. I know it's supposed to be a rice noodle, but again, that's what I have around. I haven't had great luck with non-wheat based noodles. I think the rice noodles get too mushy. And what we have done in the past is actually we'll pull the dry saute ingredients out before we add the squash and the liquid, and then we'll put the noodles in, then the liquid, then the veggies that we've already par-cooked back on top of that, and then add the squash or sweet potato, whatever it is you want to use, back on top of that. So I'm just breaking these up and just really trying hard to get them covered. You'd think with the pressure cooker, with the steam, it would be enough, but you'll see actually a little bit later at the end here that it is actually going to clump together a little bit. So that's just an extra cup of water, and again, it's almost at the level of the noodles. So I'll pop the top on, turn off the saute, put it onto manual, and set it for 3 minutes on, I think I am using high pressure here. And set it and forget it, basically. So once you've this is a little bit of the problem. We often find the noodles will stick, will clump up pretty much. Almost no matter what we do, but today's actually a little better because I put extra liquid in. But bear in mind, this recipe doesn't have peanut butter. Doesn't have the doesn't call for the coconut milk. I just had some that I needed to use, and then this is basically the sauce. It's just peanut butter and sriracha and lime juice and the tamari. I guess the flavor profile is almost a little pad thai-ish. Kind of reminds me of that, although I'm not a huge pad thai fan. I certainly like it, but it's not something that I normally order if we're at a Thai restaurant. And then there's enough heat in there where that sauce will just mix in really nicely. Of course, you could add tofu to this, or basically whatever the heck you want. What I'll probably do, this is actually going to be dinner tonight, it's lunchtime now, is I'll add some spinach to this. Just kind of line a bowl with some spinach and then just reheat it. Reheat the noodles, dump them on top of the spinach, and the heat from the dish will actually just wilt the spinach enough. And that's it. You know, it's just prep time, 10-15 minutes, 3-4-5 minutes of dry sauteing, and then 3 to 4 minutes on under pressure, and that's really about it. It takes a few minutes for the pot to come up to pressure, of course, but you know, you can have this done if you've got your stuff prepared in 15 minutes, and it's one of our favorites. You guys have a great day. Thanks.